Welcome to the Phantom Zone.
And now, comics.
So what other books were you talking about besides Young Animal that came out?
So it was also announced that Peter Milligan and Michael Allred are getting the band back together, and they're doing a new Ecstatic book, or at least as a giant size #1 special.
Yeah, I vaguely remember Ecstatic.
I love Ecstatic. I can't remember who it was, but somebody in this group got me into Ecstatic, and I read the whole run.
It was probably me because
that's
the book that got me back into reading comics, and without Ecstatics, I probably would not have the job I have now.
That's rad.
Wow!
Like that got me back into comics, got me loving comics. It got me to check out other companies because I was like, why does this book look so different than every other Marvel and DC book? And that made me go check out other companies and other creators, and then everything just snowballs.
Yeah, I literally can you give a quick breakdown of what Ecstatic is? I honestly don't really remember. I know the name, but and I know some of the characters. I don't remember this team at all.
Yeah, so the Ecstatics was a book that debuted in XForce number 116 by Peter Milligan and Michael Allred. This was around the time where they Marvel basically had this big success of Marvel Knights with Kevin Smith doing Daredevil,
Chris Priest doing
Black Panther. Yeah, and so then through that you had the Preacher team doing Punisher. You had Grant Morrison showing up to do new XMen, and this was one of them. And it was Peter Milligan who been doing a bunch of stuff. He's worked DC, Image. He's created his own books. He did a big run on Vertigo called Shade the Changing Man that I thought was pretty cool for the time. He's done stuff with Elektra.
Oh, I remember Shade the Changing Man. I really liked that book. It was really because he was part of
Just League Dark and New 52.
Yeah, but I think he had a lot of ties to what do you call it that DC owns that we were talking about the other day, Stormwatch.
Oh,
Wildstorm.
Wildstorm. Yeah, he was tied into a lot of the Wildstorm because I think they revealed that he was Merlin, didn't they?
Well, Shade was an old Ditko character created for DC.
Yeah, I think I guess when they folded it in, I think that was New 52 time they brought him. They had that book, right?
He was only the downside. He was only in for 6 issues or the first 6 issues, and then just left.
Well, yeah, because they dropped all those books.
No. Well, Just League Dark ran until DC until 2015, right before they ended or they switched up formula, and they just said that his struggle was over or something, and he went back. Or he's at peace or something. It's been a long minute.
Oh yeah, and Peter Milligan also wrote 125 some odd issues of Hellblazer. He basically was the last writer on Hellblazer before it got canceled at Vertigo. But so basically he teamed up with Michael Allred, who's big claim to fame up to that point is he created Madman, which was a huge kind of Image series. And the basic concept of Ecstatics was a group of mutants who were they've never shown up in any other book before. This was their first appearance. And they work with this guy who's called Coach, who is the mentor of the team, who basically is their promoter. And this incarnation of XForce are basically reality stars and socialites. Before the advent, this is super early MySpace, would have been very early Survivor, where reality media was starting to kind of get big. So XForce was a pastiche of that, which fast forward 15 years, XForce feels or / Ecstatics feels just kind of oh hey, that idea also went further, that they could have done more with. But the whole entire conceit of the team is that they're inexperienced. They're a bunch of glory hounds. They only really care about themselves. They care about merchandising, which could honestly really sound like a really annoying book to read. But you had these really cool characters. You had Orphan, aka Mr. Sensitive, aka Guy Smith, whose power was that he possessed heightened senses to the point that raindrops felt like needles to him,
Oh.
and he's just always contemplating suicide. Like the first time you see him, it's like him playing Russian roulette, and the professor shows up to like help him out. You know, there's also like Dead Girl, whose power is that she's dead. There's the anarchist who like shoots like energy bolts. There's Yugo Girl who can like teleport. But probably the most famous member of the Ecstatics that most people would know is Duke, who is this green floating blob creature who's the cameraman for the Ecstatics, who only speaks in Dupish, is also the best friend of Wolverine. Him and Wolverine are tight. Wolverine's the only one who also understands what Dupe says. Also Kitty Pryde. So like Dupe has had history. And it's a big revolving door on the cast, but it's like its art is super good. The team dynamic is great. Like there's like a big omnibus that basically collects every single piece of Ecstatics comics outside of the all new Dupe mini that came out. I want to say like 2-3 years ago at this point. But yeah, I think Ecstatics is just a super great book, and I'm like kind of like I saw it's coming back, and I saw the cover, and basically it's like you see like a couple people who are, you know, super reminiscent, like, you know, with Guy looks like he's back. There is a chance that like Yugo Girl might be back, but like I just want to go in completely fresh.
Okay, so the cover that they released, that is not like the cover for new stuff, that's an old cover?
It is a new cover, but like it has like elements of the old cover.
Oh, okay.
So like I don't like, without like going into like why certain characters aren't on the team. Like I don't know if it's like Guy imagining these people still there, or you know what.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only one that you know that will be there is Duke. Maybe it's all in Duke's head.
Yeah, I was reading through the wiki and was like, oh, I didn't realize, like, the only character I really knew besides Dupe was I didn't know Spike was part of this team.
Not that Spike.
Yeah, isn't it the Spike that's related to Storm?
From X-Men Evolution?
Yeah, I think it's that character, isn't it?
Not that Spike.
Oh, he just has exactly the same powers?
He has the exact same powers.
Oh, that's dumb.
Well, okay, so that Spike came out in a comic in 2001. And when did X-Men Evolution come out? Oh my God,
was he a character created for X-Men Evolution?
Oh, well, X-Men Evolution came out a year before. So it's just, I imagine it's just happenstance that there's...
I bet you it was like a weird rights thing.
Maybe? Who knows? But yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it's probably like a Black Lightning, Black Vulcan thing.
Yeah. Wait, is Black Lightning and Black Vulcan two separate characters?
Yes.
Because I thought they were the same guy.
Yes and
Technically
no.
they are, but they're not.
Yeah, it's because Hanna-Barbera, like, there's like a handful of characters that are made for Super Friends so it's Black Vulcan, Apache Chief, I'm trying to remember, I think there's like one or two other ones that, because they were made for Hanna-Barbera has the rights to them.
Oh, it's that weird thing. Okay,
Yeah,
I got it.
so they basically took the character and they had to rename him, and they renamed him to Black Lightning, so that's why he's exactly the same, except he does not have a cowl.
Yeah, it's the Marvel owning Death's Head or certain aspects of Rob.
Yeah.
Like, got it.
Yeah, that's why, like, there's never been an Apache Chief anything. That's
Yeah,
like,
you-
they kind of allude to it in, like, I think season 2 of Young Justice. There's, like, that Native American kid that, like, kind of grows tall, but he doesn't grow tall. He grows, like, a shield thing around him. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Wasn't there? I remember there was an episode of Justice League where it was Cadmus had artificially created a bunch of knockoffs.
They might have been able to get around some stuff like that. But yeah, there is a Samurai in Justice League, or in Super Friends, and that's like a character that was made for that show. It was all the like weird ethnic characters that were made for Super Friends. Which is why all those characters appeared in Harvey Birdman when they did that episode. Which, if you have never watched the Apache Chief Harvey Birdman episode, you should go watch that now. Because they basically do a goof on the McDonald's coffee spilling thing. Like,
Oh, that's good.
except
That's
that it's
good.
all a thing, because if you never watched Super Friends, Apache Chief's power is that he can grow. So because of the coffee being spilled on him, he can no longer grow.
Grow.
Yeah, I'm seeing. Yeah, I guess there's another character like El Dorado, like all the weird's probably not the best word, but like all the weird like
Out there.
random
I think out
ethnic
there would be a
characters.
better way to say.
Yeah, out there like random ethnic characters that have like not very PC names or looks are all like the Hanna-Barbera creations.
Man, that's on like an Aztec level.
No, El Dorado looks way worse. Aztec is
Are they in terms of names?
Oh yeah. El Dorado literally looks like a wrestler. The samurai.
Oh my god.
The samurai one is the worst one. He literally is just like a Japanese, like a random Asian looking guy with like a samurai thing, and he has like a laser sword, and I think he can make his legs into like a tornado.
Oh wow, that's racist.
Yeah, so yeah, we just went down a weird rabbit hole.
Yikes! That's yikes.
I'll
definitely back up Alan's point. This is oof.
If you've never watched Super Friends, it's actually awesome. It's on the DC app. This is like their lineup. There are some really good actual episodes of it, and it has like the awesome Legion of Doom thing. Like, oh yeah, here's. I guess somebody also did what we were talking about and put them together. Yeah, it's these 4 characters are the ones that were just created for Hanna-Barbera. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that could be a question for another week.
Yeah, that's...
Find your what's the most racist character you ever read?
We could spin this out and it could be like a Legion of Tunes thing.
Oh god. Oh yeah, we should watch that at some point.
Everybody falls down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, so but that is I am glad that they're bringing back some cool stuff. Like Ecstatic is really interesting. And I do hope that the companies are kind of learning to branch out and not just do the same stuff, especially after the dumb crap that was it the Marvel CEO said like a year ago?
Oh, that readers don't care about art. Well, no, that readers don't care about artists.
He said readers don't care about artists and they don't care about legacy characters. They just care about the original characters and like.
Hey, trick question. It's actually he said multiple dumb things, so they're all the right answer.
Yep, and then he said stuff about like characters who are like different colors and races and sexual orientation. Yeah, he went off and like all the bad things.
Yeah, he's a dumb shit.
Yeah. All right. So, which other story do you want to bounce to next? Batman Ninja Turtles, Wolverine Blade.
I just saw this picture of like Daddy Carnage.
Oh yes.
Yeah, no, I was looking at that too.
And I was just like, I was like not expecting this look for Venom, and it's like, so I guess what was in like the new Venom book?
Yeah, this is the thing that we had been talking about, that they're bringing Carnage back, where it's like he has the God thing on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the War of the Webs, I think. Is that what it's called? Web of Venom. Sorry, I'm looking at
it's Web of Carnage #1, Cult of Carnage, but I think it's part of the big crossover Venom thing.
Yeah, and he's just like, he looks like he's 8 foot tall. He's got like a vertebrae in one hand while having this like slinky robe over half of his shoulder. And it's like, I can't help but like focus on looking at like his bulge because the way
it's drawn weird too.
Yeah,
and it's just like, were they going for like Daddy Carnage? Because
and the other guy's literally at crotch level, like right in front of his crotch.
Yeah,
like he's he's praying to the altar of Carnage because Carnage's crotch.
Yeah,
that should be the title for this episode.
Oh yeah,
Carnage,
that's right.
The cock Carnage. It's somewhere in here.
At the altar of Daddy Carnage.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But yeah, good luck for old Cletus Cassidy.
All right, so ignoring his crotch though, I don't mind like the new kind of color scheme / pattern.
Is Carnage still Cletus?
I think that's the idea of this story.
Because I remember the last time I saw Carnage in a book, he was a good guy because he got his like alignment shifted because of Axis.
How did they make Cassidy a good guy when he was a serial killer?
Because Axis was really stupid, and it was like an event where all the good guys became bad guys, and all the bad guys became good guys, and that's why you had, like, Dick, Tony Stark, and infamous Iron Man, and that's why, like, Sabretooth was a good guy, like, hanging out with, like, X-Force and stuff for a little bit, and they did, like a miniseries or two with, like, good guy Carnage, who was, like, friends with Speedball, I believe.
Oh.
I have bad memories of Carnage, thanks to the awful Amazing Spider-Man 2 game.
Well, I remember, like, me and John are in the age group when, like, Maximum Carnage was, like, huge, both of, like, the comics and the video game, so he was cool.
I played the game.
Yeah, he was cool for a while.
The game was great.
I do love that at one point they had one shitty character kill off their other shitty character when they had Sentry throw him into the sun.
Nice. That's one way to get rid of someone.
Because they just didn't know what to do with Carnage anymore. They're like, they just had no idea. Because they're like, well, we redeemed Venom, but Carnage is still like this guy who's like a mass murderer with superpowers, and then Sentry just grabbed him and chucked him into the sun.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Honestly, just get it over with. Throw him right into the sun.
Yeah, so I don't know if they're saying if it's Cletus or not, because I guess Cletus died and some other character died.
I don't know. I just put it in my cart, so next time we do this podcast, I'll tell you whether it's Cletus or not.
All right, but yeah, that's a look.
That's a look.
All right, so what is more interesting? Wolverine versus Blade, Batman TMT, Saga's halfway over.
I'm into that. I like Saga.
I have not read Saga only because like it's so daunting. Like it has everything that I would love. It's just daunting.
Yeah, that's fair. Like I have the first collected volume, and I read that all in like the span of a weekend, and it was great. And I keep picking up the second one, and I'm just kind of scared. And now that I know it's halfway over, I'm more inclined to go out and get that second volume, because now I know it's not going to be like one of these long treks. Like it's almost there.
Like Walking Dead, where it's approaching issue 200.
Yeah, like I have a problem with like a story going on too long. I like a defined ending for certain things.
I wonder what'll end first: The Walking Dead or The Human Race.
I think The Human Race, honestly, with the amount of spin-offs The Walking Dead gets.
I mean, like at this point, Robert Kirkman was like, "Oh, I'm going to write this for as long as I can," which, I mean, to be completely fair, it's his cash cow.
Why not?
But like, I'm glad that's like, I didn't think Saga was going to go on for like a long time. I think the longest series that Brian K. Vaughan's ever done was Y, and that was 150.
Yeah, and I read that like way after it was over because I read it like a collection.
Which is, I'm not saying that's like a small number. Like that is quite a long time, especially in current comic days. Landscape. But I don't know. Like, I'm kind of glad that they're like, oh yeah, it's halfway mark. I kind of assumed since they were taking that usually year-long break that it the end was around the corner. Oh no, like Why Last Man was 60 issues. So why did I think it was like so long? But yeah, I guess Saga would be the longest thing he's ever worked on then.
Yeah, I don't know. I think when you have books like that are these huge stories without any end in sight, it has done with me, it kind of scares me off because it's just like it's a daunting thing to jump into.
Mm-hmm.
Like I completely understand, which is why I understand the idea of like the reboots for the big two, because otherwise, like you look at Detective 1000, like no one's ever reading all those books. They would take you forever.
Oh man,
you also don't need to because they keep rebooting stuff in a way and like doing stuff, so they are jumping on points. So I do think it's better for them to like kind of, especially for a book like Saga is, like it's probably better to at least like end the main book, and then if you want to do stuff, like you can do spin-offs.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Like, tell the complete story and then divvy out this side stuff whenever you want. Because that's how I feel like Hellboy is going right now. Like, Mike Mignola has kind of come in and is ending all of the stories, like having a defined endpoint. But they're still doing side stories in times and places that they haven't even touched. They've only ever alluded to.
Well, that's like what, like that is a perfect way to like, because the way that Hellboy set up with like the time jumping, you could do different stuff like with the BPRD and other characters throughout time.
Absolutely. You're like on the same note as me. Like I just picked up, or a couple weeks ago I picked up BPRD 1958, and it has Hellboy in it. It's just like a quick one-off story. It's like six issues, but it's all about something they do allude to in the main story as just kind of like Hellboy talking to a Nazi villain that he's encountered a few times, and now you get to see the story that kind of created that moment. It's a cool little way to tie it into the regular story.
Yeah, and as much as like I love like certain books, like and just media in general, things that have a bad ending or like they kind of like peter out, it can ruin like an entire like thing for you, which is why like we're at the last season of Game of Thrones. You look at like Harry Potter movies or Lord of the Rings, like if you have like a definitive end for something, especially in like sci-fi and fantasy stuff, like it's really important, because otherwise you tend to just kind of meander and then people just lose interest.
Yeah. That's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah, because especially like if you look at, especially like I guess with TV shows, like the better shows have had like a definitive ending, and then when they just kind of go on and on and on, and they're just like milking the cow to death.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
why
you feel it
exactly. Like it's tangible. Like Breaking Bad had an end point, right? Like you knew that in 5 seasons this was done, or 6 seasons technically. But you look at Lost, where it starts with this amazing premise, and then the writers don't know where to go because they didn't really think that far ahead. They had a really cool idea, but they didn't know how to end that idea.
Yeah, that was exactly the show I was thinking about.
And the ultimate message was, feeling down, go with Christ.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I feel like I was never into Lost. I think I've seen an episode, so
I've seen every episode.
Yeah, like I just didn't. I missed the. Not that I didn't miss the boat, but like it just like never. Like I had friends that really watched it and just never hooked me. Like, which I completely get. Like now watching like Game of Thrones, it's like I know people that haven't watched it, and I'm like I can get not wanting to watch it because it's so much stuff, but like you're also kind of missing on the craziness.
Yeah.
Because I think like as opposed to like a Breaking Bad, I think that you're never going to lose what that is. But I think some shows have like a big cultural moment.
Also,
yeah.
just because it's kind of related. Just a reminder: Paul Dini, Brian K. Vaughan, they were all for Lost.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of amazing like people that worked on that show.
I mean, it's like specific comic book writers. Like that was a show for comic book writers.
Yeah, and they've all done like great stuff afterwards.
That it just proves that sometimes you can even climb a mountain when you fall to the bottom of the valley.
All right.
What is that? So like Sun Tzu
Yeah,
shit?
I don't know where that came from. I'll stop.
It's all right.
You're like, that came from my brain.
Yeah. Okay, so someone explain to me where Blade has been in the Marvel Universe for, I don't know, 15 years?
Well,
Right now.
I have no idea
Oh,
where
cool.
he's been.
Yeah, like I completely forgot Blade was a Marvel character until this
You
story.
didn't know that?
No, I knew that. Honestly, I did, because I'd seen the movies 1,000 times. But
He's in like 8 issues of Captain Britain, the MI-13, and that book is super rad.
Yeah, we've
Cool.
talked about that. That's a great Blade run.
damn, okay.
Because like
Yeah, I guess
Dracula's
I
on
need
the
to-
moon.
I think when the X-Men were fighting vampires
Sorry,
and Dracula.
What? There's Dracula on the moon?
Dude, I know I've talked to you about
Yes.
this before.
Yeah, that sounds super familiar.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Captain Britain and the MI-13 fought Dracula and his vampire army, where their base was in a castle on the dark side of the moon.
You said like 1,000 of my favorite words right now.
The team is awesome too because it's Captain Britain, Blade, Nightcrawler's daughter, which is like Nocturne.
No, it's like Spitfire and
Oh,
Excalibur
Spitfire.
and the Black Knight.
It's the younger Black Knight with the leather jacket, and then we talked about it was that was where the Arab character that got Excalibur.
Yeah.
What was her name?
Hussein.
Hussein. Yeah.
Yeah, she's great. That book is so good.
Is it part of the Secret Invasions thing?
Yes.
It launched in Secret Invasion.
Okay, cool. I'm just adding the first, 3 volumes right now, just so I can read that.
Yeah, and the other character that was part of MI-13 was the guy that's basically their version of Peter Pan.
Pete Wisdom.
Pete Wisdom, yeah.
Wisdom.
Yeah, Pete Wisdom, he's basically the British Nick Fury.
Yeah.
Cool.
And
Okay.
it's very much alluded to that he's basically Peter Pan, like a grown-up Peter Pan. Because the whole thing that starts off, the team forms because the Skrulls attack London because it's like the center of all magic,
Mm-hmm.
and
Cool.
they're trying to get Excalibur, and then that's where Faza Hussein gets Excalibur, and she's like a medic or a doctor or something, so it's like a whole nother thing. I
Cool.
don't know, it's like it is really like a crazy ass story.
No, that's rad.
Yeah, and the way they work around with Blade is like really funny, like how
Yeah,
they work around for him to join the team. Because like you don't think like Blade's not British, but then they like do this whole like kind of goofy bullshit.
They follow the genealogy all the way back
Yeah.
or whatever.
It's not that complicated, but it's like a little roundabout, but it's funny. He's just like, okay, you guys are gonna help me kill some vampires? I'm down.
Sweet. Yeah, I just found there are 3 volumes and I just added all of them. So I'll pick those up and read those.
Yeah, but that's basically where like he's been doing that, but he fits in like kind of.
Connor, do you not have Marvel Unlimited?
No, I don't. I should probably.
Yeah,
consider
it's
that.
only like $10 and some change a month.
Yeah, I
And
think
it
I'm gonna do
has
that.
25,000 comics.
I had it that last year, and that's where John recommended me read Ecstatic, and then I read all of Ecstatic.
I mean,
So-
they have with the Fox purchase. I have a feeling they're gonna. I wouldn't be surprised if they pull what they did when they bought Disney or Lucas or film and got the Star Wars license. But do that with Alien and Predator.
God, that'd be nice.
Oh
That'd
yeah,
be
that's
really
right. They
nice.
would have those but those licenses are currently at Dark Horse, right?
Yeah, Dark
Which
Horse.
which is funny because that's where Star Wars was before their deal. So I'm guessing they'll just
Yeah,
wait out those
Yeah, they're
licenses.
just gonna yoink those.
No, they'll probably just wait them out. I don't know how big of the Star Wars was a little bit different, where they just kind of paid them off to get the licenses.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing with Alien and those other books, they're just gonna wait them out.
I hope
which
so
is kinda-
because there's an upcoming Alien book that I'm really looking forward to. I think it's. I mean, it's got from. I remember it has a pretty good creative team.
Oh, I wonder. I'm really digging that Alien 3 book.
Yeah.
and that's getting
I
to a
actually
crazy
haven't
point.
caught up that yet.
Oh, they've
I'm
gotten
pretty
to the point
behind.
where shit's just kind of gotten real, real.
I'm missing issue 5. I've read the other 4 though. So
Okay.
yeah, no, I just added that to the cart.
To get back to this cover though, for the Blade vs. Wolverine,
Yeah, let's get back to the
Wolverine's-
topic.
Wolverine's wearing the X-Force suit. So is this taking place is this some weird?
I don't know, man.
Elseworld?
But I did see that this is written by Mark Guggenheim, and then I'm like, Audi 5000 on anything Mark Guggenheim writes.
Yeah.
I don't like that guy at all. I thought X-Men Gold was super boring. He wrote Young X-Men. That book was super boring. I know that people seem to like him because of his TV work, but I think his comics work has a lot to be desired for.
He's the kind of Kevin Feige or whatever of the CW. So I don't know how much time he has to even write books.
I don't think Kevin Feige and Mark Guggenheim are on the same level though.
No, I know, but I'm saying he's kind of the architect of the Flareverse.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I mean. So I'm more I don't know how he has time for anything.
Oh, so you can put this in the show notes. The book I was referring to is Aliens Rescue, and it's by Brian Wood and Kieran McCune.
Oh, those aliens finally need help, and were they gonna assume that a bunch of humans are gonna try and help them out after all the killing they've done?
Yep, they got themselves in a real scramble, and they need some help from the old humans.
They're like, help us, we promise we won't face hug you.
And they're
I'll
like,
give you a
okay.
5-minute head start.
They're like, okay, facehugger attack.
Yeah, you never trust those little guys.
No, it's like the scorpion and the frog.
Hmm
It's in my nature.
Yeah.
As it face
Uh,
hugs you with its tiny mouth.
So they're doing a third Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover.
Yes.
I think it's tied into because they're also doing that animated.
Oh, okay.
And I think this is an amalgam thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Because if you look at the pictures, it looks like it's Splinter
As Alfred.
as Alfred, Joker as Shredder. The Foot Clan all have Joker smiles.
and Clayface looks like Rocksteady.
Yeah, Clayface is Rocksteady, which looks pretty awesome.
Oh, wow. And Leonardo's like Nightwing, and Raph looks like Red Hood. Oh, and I don't know if Killer Croc is Bebop.
That's actually kind of
I-
funny, but
I feel like
yeah.
they would have workshopped that.
But who else? What other kind of big beastly character could Bebop be? He only really has Clayface and Killer Croc.
Mhm.
Oh,
Whoa! This
Deadshot looks cool.
Whoa!
Krang as the anti-monitor is some real fucking strength.
Oh,
that
wow,
looks
that is
so
awesome.
rad.
I'm gonna have to share that onto the Phantom Zone for main page. Yeah, Michelangelo is
Wow.
Damien.
Whoa.
That's an idea I never would have thought about. That's like Galaxy Brain.
What the hell is Donatello supposed to be?
Tim Drake.
Oh, okay. I like the Deadshot, but I have no idea what character he's supposed to be. He's just a better ninja, better
I think it's
foot soldier.
ninja-fied costume. Yeah, this looks like a lot better than the last thing that had TMNT 3 in the title.
Oh yeah. Dude, just that Krang anti-monitor thing is so awesome. It's worth the price of admission. So this is definitely a book I'm gonna have to pick up. And then, oh man, I love
Is
actually.
Freddie Williams still doing the art?
Yeah,
Okay.
Because
Freddie
this
Williams
is
the second.
I kind of want them to make figures of these characters.
Yeah, dude, I would buy that
I actually-
minor Krang.
I actually love the way that they set the turtles up too, because it makes perfect sense. Except for the Michelangelo as Damien is kind of wonky, but the other ones are perfect. Donatello as Tim Drake and Raph as Red Hood is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But that Krang is the shit.
And I mean, to be honest, like Shredder Joker looks pretty cool too.
Yeah, he looks it's kind of interesting because they had that Batman Ninja thing come out. But I do like the design. Like I like the mask, looks awesome. And the color scheme works perfectly for this too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because Shredder was purple, like purple was part of his color scheme, so it works great. And the foot soldiers, they actually really remind me of the ninjas from the Jackie Chan adventures.
Oh yeah,
No, that's a deep cut.
Yeah, I'll have to find a picture of them.
Yeah, this looks rad. I didn't read the first two. I heard they were really fun. But this looks kind of like a little bit more up my alley of like what I kind of want out of a crossover between those two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't find a picture of those Shinobi characters. Trying to think, we had like one or two other stories here, right?
Yeah, like Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen books are officially debuting in July, and I think those books will be really rad. Lois Lane by Greg Rucka and Mike Perkins, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen by Fraction and Steve Lieber.
Yeah, you saw the Olsen one, didn't you?
I saw the pages. Yeah, it looks rad. I mean, Steve Lieber is great, you know, and Matt Fraction, like writing Jimmy Olsen, I think it'll be a lot of fun. But Rucka is just like all-time great female character writer. Like his questions rad. Like hopefully Renee Montoya shows up at some point in the Lois Lane book.
Yeah, she's been like MIA, I think, and like I haven't seen her around for a long time.
Yeah, his Catwoman's great. Yeah, he's good. So I think that book will be super rad. I was just like talking to my comic shop guy today. I'm like, yeah, I'm probably gonna just have to completely like redo my
Pull
pull
list.
list because he joked with me today. He's like, oh yeah, West Coast Avengers number 10 comes out. It's the last issue, and I'm like, yeah, because you know me, I read all the books that get canceled.
It will be interesting to see though, because like if they're spinning it out of the current Superman storyline, which I've been reading because it's Leviathan. Thank you. Like Lois and Jimmy are kind of set up as big parts of this, and because her dad, I guess, is one of the heads of Argus currently, and basically like in it. Let me see, Cobra, Argus, the DEO, Checkmate, and somebody, and Spiral's, so everybody but Spiral got completely wiped off the board. Like everyone's dead, except for like a couple of people, except for they have no idea what's up with Spiral. No one can contact them. And no one knows what's going on. And apparently Jimmy Olsen was undercover doing an expose on Cobra when they all got killed. And he's all like PTSD'd out.
Oh god. Please tell me it's not Snyder levels of...
No, he was like freaking out. And then like at some point at the end of the first issue of it, Amanda Waller like knocks on the door and she's like, and it's Clark and Lois, after Jimmy came in and like passed out, they put him in their bed and she's like, you're Superman, let me in. Or like they're coming after me, and then collapses. And then the second issue, they like opens up and they're like, Lois is like, Amanda Waller and Jimmy Olsen are sleeping in our bed. It's our bed. The bed that oh god, we're gonna have to burn all this.
Whoa.
Wait, is this an action or a Superman?
I think it's an action. And they're guys like, what the shit is going on? And then it cuts to them in the Fortress of Solitude. And basically they just brought them there. And currently Jimmy does not know Clark is Superman. And like it's just Lois going off on Waller, like, what the hell is your problem? Why did you bring this to our doorstep? And like going off on her.
Wait a minute.
Is it like the old design for Amanda Waller too?
Like
or
just big?
She's like medium. I'll try to find
Oh, good. Get that boy, Jimmy Olsen.
Honestly, I cannot. I've been reading the Wildstorm, and every time I see the Weatherman, I just see Brian Bendis. So I can't read it because I just can't take it seriously.
Oh man, I am trying to figure out how to take a screen grab of this comic. I'm trying to think. Screen. Yeah, like there's like a program thing. I know this is super entertaining for people. What was our next news story? And then I will pop a picture in here once I figure it out.
I guess Marvel's doing some like mini art of comics in the summer that involves characters fighting villains that they normally would not fight. It's called Acts of Evil. It's a 3-part annual that crosses over between Miss Marvel, The Punisher, and Venom.
Yeah, I saw this. The one character, like, I could not figure out who it was the guy Venom, or the woman Venom is fighting. Like, who the hell is that?
Hellbender. She was a character that was in those first couple of issues of the Totally Awesome Hulk book.
I was gonna say, like, with her size, she has to be like a Hulk villain or a Thor villain.
They were drawn by John Cho.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's Miss Marvel Annual, Miss Marvel versus Super Skrull by Magdalene Visaggio, who is great. I think a lot of her comics are really good. Art by John Lim. Punisher versus the Brood Queen, because the Punisher is like out in space, like fighting people in some.
Yeah, but if you look in the picture, J. Jonah Jameson is in there.
Yeah, you're
Why?
right.
His son was an astronaut.
Excuse me. His son was
Werewolf
world
by Night.
famous.
Werewolf by Night.
The world famous astronaut John Jameson.
Do you know about Werewolf by Night, Connor?
No, but this
Oh my
sounds
God.
like it's up my alley.
This was a thing that they were like supposed to be hinting at in the Tobey Maguire movies.
Well, okay, so
What?
Wait, what?
Yeah, you
I
never
mean-
heard about that?
No.
No.
Yeah, he goes to space in like the first movie, and then is in this or he's come back from space in the first movie. And if you watch when like the Goblin attacks the party or whatever, when there's like the parade,
Mm-hmm.
apparently he like jumps really far out of the way, and it was like the idea was like future setup.
so he's not Werewolf by Night. He's just Manwolf.
I thought he was Werewolf by Night.
Man Wolf.
No.
Oh no, he's
werewolf-
because he's the white one. Yeah.
Because Werewolf by Night, his alias is Jack Russell. Get it? Jack
Yeah.
Russell turns
Like a
into a
dog.
werewolf. Turns into a werewolf man.
Werewolf. Man Wolf.
Oh, you're right. He's Manwolf. Oh my god! And his power comes from like a ruby or something from that he got on the dark side of
Space
the moon.
Ruby.
Yeah, and he like has a sword and stuff.
Man, that design.
Wait, isn't that like the same setup that the animated 90s Spider-Man uses for them getting the black symbiote?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole
Yeah.
like yeah. So it was in the thing. It's his ship that brings the symbiote back, and that was
Mhm.
going to be their original setup and like set up. I think it was like the setup for the third one.
Well, it's funny because he got the suit during Secret Wars, but then they ended up doing Secret Wars in Spider-Man.
Oh my god!
What?
Yeah,
Damn.
Because they did Venom like super early on, like late season 1, early
Yeah,
season
yeah,
2.
it was like really early season 2.
But then they did Secret Wars in like late season 3, early season 4, where it's like, oh, like now we're gonna have him team up with like Iron Man, and it was like the big X-Men crossover too.
God, I loved that so much.
and they had a ton of crossovers because there was like a Daredevil crossover.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was a crossover in the sense that you had
It
like
was the animated
X-
series.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where you had like the guy who voiced Wolverine show up as Wolverine in Spider-Man.
Didn't they do one with the Fantastic Four of that time period too?
I don't know. They probably did, but I don't think a lot of people had nostalgia for that Fantastic Four series.
I don't even know that series, so that should go to show.
Oh, that's the series where all of the like awesome Stan Lee intros come from.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
There's a scene where Magneto basically breaks his own mind because Mr. Fantastic has a one gun that he painted.
Oh, and he thinks it's metal.
He dupes. Or no, it's either that or the one from the '60s.
Oh, there's so many Fantastic Four anime. They've tried to do it so many times.
But the ultimate thing is Magneto thinks or is like, I've lost my powers. What point is there to live? And he surrenders himself to the cops. And he's like, how did you do it, Mr. Fantastic? How'd you take away my power? He's like, oh, I didn't do anything. I just painted this wooden gun.
Well,
And-
for a man that smart, wouldn't he know not to tell the supervillain, yeah, your powers still work?
That's exactly what I thought when I was watching it.
No, I guess like they kind of hand wave power dampening.
That's fair. It's a
Yeah.
kids' animated show, so, I mean, I can't get mad at it.
Alright. So let's bounce to this Netflix thing that you posted in here, John. So I guess this is again Netflix, buying up stuff to replace their Disney catalog. So I have not read this, like Space Bandits.
Is not out yet.
Oh, was it a book first or no?
It is a book that he is writing. That's not out yet. That will be
Wow.
made into a series, much like the Magic Order.
That's interesting for them to do.
Yeah.
So, it's a property that hasn't even. There's no audience because I guess
Yeah.
they're just relying on the writer.
Well, because Mark Millar sold off Millerverse to Netflix, so
Oh yeah, I know
a
that.
lot of these books that he's doing, like new concepts, the Magic Order, and now this, when they, like, the Magic Order trade came out this week. If you look at Spine, it's published by Netflix with also Image. But yeah, so Space Bandits is supposed to be, one of these shows that Netflix will be trying to develop. It's going to be Mark Millar writing it with Matteo Scalera doing the art. It'll look fantastic. People know Matteo Scalera as the guy who basically drew all the Black Science, but Rick Remender also did some stuff on Uncanny X-Force. Really great.
There was an ongoing there was a running joke on iFanboy where they're just like, he was working so much, they're like, can we just make him just stop?
So basically, the book is Space Bandits follows the universe's most wanted criminals, Thena Cole and Cody Blue. Their reputation sees them as master thieves that leave no moonstone unturned and no valuable untouched. After their crews betray them, Thena and Cody scour the galaxy, hell-bent on getting their just revenge. Millar describes the series as a female Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid with more space tracking. But I thought it was like a little fun because when I first saw the image for the cover, I thought it looked a lot like Kim and Kim, which was a Black Mask book done by Madeline Visaggio, and I guess she also thought the same thing.
Yeah, I see like that. It's in the article too. That's funny.
And I'm not saying that like Mags is like owns the concept of a duo of like badass space ladies like going on adventures, because it's like there's like Dirty Pair, there's
well, it's an idea that's been going on for forever of like this like renegades, like a duo like this. I guess specifically having it be like two kind of punk looking women is a little close to some other things.
I'm also like just like not a fan. It's like you have like this really great looking Matteo Scalera artwork, and then it's like your variant for the issue is stuck in this cover by Howard Chaykin, and I'm just like,
is that the back-to-back one where like the girls are back-to-back? That one looks terrible. Like the one girl looks like she's in like Joker cosplay with her hair and lips.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, there's a group there's a Facebook chat that me and Lou are a part of where some people are just it's like it's their motive to tear down, to just talk shit about everything Mark Millar does, if it's good, if it's bad. Lou knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like one of those weird things where like
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, everybody is problematic and all things are bad. I don't know. I'm not like the hugest fan of Kick-Ass and like some of his other stuff, but like I don't know. I mostly
Have you read Hook?
Hook is good.
I've heard Hook is very good.
But the problem with Mark Millar is he's like, for the longest time, it's a super mixed bag. Because it's like you get something like, kind of good, like a Superman Red Sun, and then you'd get Wanted. Or, you would get like Starlight, or you get Nemesis. And it's just like, I don't know which one I'm getting with either of these books. I don't know if I'll just get like the guy who's like trying to be like Warren Ellis, or the guy who's trying to be like oh my god, the guy who did The Boys and The Punisher and Preacher. Garth Ennis. Because like Mark Millar trying to be dime store Garth Ennis is like the worst version of Mark Millar.
They're like, but the thing is like there are aspects of Wanted and Nemesis that I think are interesting. They're just not.
I find it funny that Wanted and Old Man Logan are basically the same thing.
Yeah, well, and Old Man Logan is, like, not bad until, like, the very last issue.
Yeah.
And it just completely shifts the bag. And Nemesis, like, I don't know, man. I think Nemesis has very little redeeming qualities. Like the idea that, oh, this brother is going to impregnate his sister, and then I'm going to put a bomb in her womb so they can't give her an abortion. Because if they give her an abortion, the bomb will go off.
What?
Oh, I never read Nemesis. I just know like the concept. So.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know what Nemesis is.
So Nemesis was like Mark Millar. I don't know.
It's very similar to Wanted conceptually, I think, because they're like in the same universe, right? Sort of.
What?
No,
really?
I don't think so. But no, like Mark Millar basically got in his head one day where he felt like he was just like had this grand epiphany of an idea where he's like, what if Batman was in fact the Joker? And that's it. It's like, what if Joker was Batman? A 4-issue miniseries.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought maybe I'm like thinking of a different character. I thought it was like.
I think I hate that.
Wasn't there like a character that he made where like people would pay to be a supervillain and the suit would give them powers but only be for like a limited amount of time?
I think you're thinking of Superior, which was a book that was basically him doing Shazam.
Okay. I don't know. And then he did Kingsman, which I know the book. I do like the movie. I haven't seen the second one. I like the first one. But his like Marvel stuff, I guess, is kind of what he's more famous for, and I guess Red Son too.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of his image stuff over like the last couple of years has been good. Like my comic shop guy just loves the Magic Order. I'm kind of surprised he didn't try and make me buy the image trade for it, which I probably will. I'm just short on money this week. But I've Starlight's great. Hawk was great. He's doing good stuff. It's just I find it super hard to kind of be a believer in like really most of his work at like when it's first announced, because of just the wretch I still get from Nemesis.
I'll have to check that out. But yeah, he also like helped create the Ultimate Universe. Oh, he's like, I do agree. He has like the weird, huge up and down swings with his stuff. I also think it's partly because he wants to be like super edgy, and it's that weird like cringe edgy sometimes.
Yeah. Oh God, I found it. Is it true? Without question. On the plus side, he fertilized her eggs under anesthesia, but he's also added something none of us ever seen before. He's rigged your daughter's womb to completely collapse if we attempt a termination. She'll never have children if we do an abortion, but it's your call. It's like, what the fuck is this?
What the fuck, man?
And it's his sister. It's his sister?
Yeah. He like, well, oh wait, no. Maybe I'm misremembering this. I know it's a family member. It could be either her brother's seed or her father's seed. I know it's someone that directly close to that.
Oh man, I will have to.
I'm gonna avoid that until like I'm completely out of good stuff to read, and then I go and read trash.
Hey man, I think you could probably find the entire series for like a couple books on Comixology.
That's a very good point. I could probably grab it on sale right now.
Yeah. Was there any other news stories to talk about this week? I'm trying to scroll through everything everybody posted on here. I think we got through all of them. All right. Were there any books that anybody specifically wanted to chat about?
I've read all of JoJo now.
Oh, wow.
Because I've been on for a few weeks. No, not the whole run. I'm gonna keep part 5 and 6 pure so I can watch the anime. Because it's so good. Oh, it's so good. But
yeah, I have not watched the newest episode of
okay,
JoJo,
look, you get introduced to my new favorite character. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh, is it Epitaph?
No. Well, technically, yeah, it's his user.
Yeah.
Oh, pure man, pure soul right there. And the other guy, poses are in JoJo are kind of like a meme, but the enemy that they kind of set up for this arc or like this 2-episode arc poses more than anybody in the series has so far. Just like per shot, every single shot, new weird different pose. He even does like a call out pose to one of the previous characters in the series. It's really cool.
So you said you finished Steel Ball Run and then you read or you're up to date on JoJo-Lean?
I am up to date on JoJo-Lean.
Okay.
And the elevator pitch for JoJo-Lean is kid wakes up in the middle of Morio, a town previous about in JoJo, but he has no memories of who he is, and he has 4 testicles.
What?
That is a huge part of the story.
Are they both his, or did someone implant?
You have just stumbled across one of the first big arcs of the story, because yeah, 2 of them are his balls, and the other 2 are someone else's balls.
So when he
it's so crazy. Okay,
is it a mix of the?
I'll give you. Okay, when you bury 2 things under the ground in a specific spot in this town, they become combined. So like they illustrate this by putting a lemon and a orange in the ground and digging them both up and then cutting them in half, and you'll see that they trade like one whatever the individual orange slices and lime slices, they've kind of traded spots to make this really cool looking example, and you find this kid buried under the ground with
4 balls,
4 testicles. So that kind of leads towards like, oh,
somebody buried 2 people.
That's a good idea. The thing is I don't want to spoil anything, but it's
in someone's testicles. Like,
yeah, like it's so batshit crazy. If I spoiled it, I don't think it would make any sense without context.
So the other kind of like big thing about this series is also it's set it's set in a universe where also the earthquake and tsunami happened, and so like Araki has like kind of like written like this natural event that happened and put it within the story of JoJo.
Yeah, and right now where I am in the story, they have kind of explained what that is, and because the plot, much like all the other JoJo goes, the plot at the start is not the plot at the end of the series, so you kind of get a lot of the answers you need throughout the story, and now it is completely different.
And which one is this? Like, is this one of the ones they have not animated yet?
Yeah, this is one of the ones they haven't. This is the newest one. It's been going since 2011, 2012, something like that. It's a monthly book, so they're wrapping it up in actually really soon by the sounds of things. Within the next year, we'll probably have an end of that, and then for the first time, for me at least, and a lot of Western audiences will actually maybe even get to see a new JoJo introduced.
Oh, wow.
Which would be kind of cool. But yeah, mostly I just want to say Steel Ball Run is my favorite comic book right now, because it is so crazy.
If I jump to this one, would that mess up the other JoJo's?
Absolutely not. Nope.
Okay.
I think what kind of helps with JoJo Leon is, so it's kind of a pastiche of Diamond is Unbreakable, which part 4. So like part 4 is set in Morio, where part A is set in. There's like a lot of the characters that you meet within JoJo Leon are characters that showed up in Diamond's Unbreakable. They're all different in like little ways.
There is a distinction because Steel Ball Run takes place in 1892, something like that, and this story takes place in 2013.
Well, also Steel Ball Run is also like the start of this alternate universe.
Yeah, because it's kind of done in trilogies, so the first 3 arcs are its own story, the next 3 arcs are its own story, and then this is kind of the middle arc of this 3 arcs. So, like, Steel Ball Run starts it. So if you want to read this arc, I would definitely suggest Steel Ball Run, because it sets up the world, the characters, and the mythology, and then the second one expands upon that heavily. And definitely check out Steel Ball Run. I'll actually drop the link that I used for in the chat right now.
And also if it helps people, Netflix does have Phantom Blood and Battle Tendencies, the anime, up on Netflix currently. So if you kind of just want like a really good crash course and just like get through like parts 1 through 4, because I know 1 and 2 are on Netflix, and then 3 and 4 are up on Crunchyroll. 3 and 4 are also I think on Hulu. I know 4 is mostly up on Adult Swim right now because they're going through that right now. So there are like kind of like ways you can just like bulldoze through those to kind of get to like, you know, the other parts. But you know, if you want like a kind of like a good kind of like starting point, probably with like these new, you know, the newer stuff, like part 7's probably good.
Yeah, that's why I kind of felt okay jumping into it, because it is completely away from what I know already. It takes like the basics of what I know, like there's a Joestar, there are stands, and there is conflict. And then it just kind of runs with that. And Steel Ball Run actually has a lot of heart to it, especially at the end when shit starts popping off, and after D4C, which is probably the most complicated comic book section I've like seen in a long time. It just like it deals with multiple realities, and yeah, it's just a real it's a third. I think it's actually it's 16 chapters. And the first 5 chapters are just dense. And then it doesn't really stop after that, but it begins once you're past this very specific spot in the story. But yeah, please go read Steel Ball Run. Please go read JoJo. Watch JoJo. That's pretty much all I've had time to do in the last couple weeks.
Can I talk about what I read?
Sure. Please.
So, if you saw what I posted in the chat, I'm not going to talk about the Wildstorm because I'm only about a quarter of the way through. I finally started reading Star Trek Boldly Go, which is basically the last will of the Kelvin timeline. And
that's the movie timeline, right?
Yeah, and it's like Chris Pine, Zachary Quino, Zoe Saldana, the late great Anton Yelchin. They tie into some stuff that Star Trek Online tied into, or they both combined, in that the Nero ship, the Narada from Star Trek 2009, was made using some of it was Borg tech. So the Borg showed up, and I'm like, these motherfuckers, they think they have the gall, and they almost do the bit from Best of Both Worlds, but instead of Kirk being taken, it's Spock, and the whole thing is because he's half Vulcan, half human, they can't assimilate him. Yet they said that they've been able to assimilate Vulcans in the past. And honestly, it wasn't that good. And I have another two volumes to go.
Oh man, you're just gonna like put your head down and power through.
Yeah, I did like where things shifted. They gave some backstory to Jayla, the character from Star Trek Beyond, who and the actress who would go on to play the Mummy in the Tom Cruise vehicle, The Mummy.
Oh, the one from you just talked about there's a Millar book that she's in, Samuel L. Jackson's like assistant lady, the one with the blade legs.
Oh, Kingsman.
Yeah, she's in that. She's the blade leg.
Yeah. And it sort of gives some background to give some backstory, much needed backstory to how she came to be on the planet that Krull was on, and it's kind of sad. Like her father and her family were sort of like junkers, and the Swarm, and basically what happens to the Enterprise and the beginning of Beyond happens to them, and Jayla's sister gets. Krull has to feed, and he chooses the sister. Then he kills, or he has his men kill her father. Very depressing.
I was gonna say that sounds super dark for some Star Trek.
Well, considering that when the Kelvin timeline is pretty much, like I said, dead, I think this is going to be like closure.
Mm.
You know, the whole grief stages.
Yeah.
And hopefully, once I'm done with Volume 3, which is apparently I think gender swap versions of each character.
So basically, it's like all women and one guy.
I think so.
All right.
I may be at. Hopefully, I'll be at acceptance at that point.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of other Star Trek books to check out. I guess, for the Kelvin specifically, that'll be it.
I just want to talk. I just need to talk to get this off my chest because I'm just so damn excited.
Lay it on us.
It's coming out next week. Star Trek Year 5.
Oh, so it's a continuation of the original show?
Yeah, it's a continuation of the original series. It's basically the fifth year, or the fifth year of the mission, or the final year of the 5-year mission, and it's going to lead it. I think they said they're going to end it where it's going to start with the beginning of the 5-year mission, or with the beginning of the 5th year, and end at how they got to Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Oh, that's awesome. That's actually something I'm interested in. Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and they actually have a writer's room for it, unlike most books. So it's probably the most excited I've been for a Star Trek book, because the Q conflict isn't really doing much.
Yeah. All right. I'll quickly talk about the 2 books that I was going to talk about before we get into our question. But so the most recent, let me see if I get the numbers. Batman 68 and Detective 1001. So Batman 68 is kind of interesting because I've been kind of confused because they dropped a cover recently, which was like a bachelorette party for what appears to be Catwoman.
Okay.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So the whole book is like the bachelor and bachelorette party of Batman and Catwoman. And by party, I mean it's Lois Lane and Catwoman and their like misadventure at the Fortress of Solitude.
Oh my god, I need to read this.
While it's Bruce and Clark kind of having like a really boring time. And like Lois and Catwoman are they're like raiding Superman's like closet of wines people have given him, like from across the universe. And then they go like, one of the other funny things is like there's like, oh, this is the Paradise Pool, or Treasure Tub or Super Spa, and it's like, yeah, some villain created this for Clark to like trap him in it because it makes you feel like everything is like in bliss. And Catwoman's like, oh, it's pretty, and then Lois just like punts her into it, and Catwoman's like, what the hell are you doing? It's all sticky, and oh my god, it is awesome. And then you see Lois start taking off like her shoes, and then it's just the 2 of them like floating in this like hot tub while they're like, and then the Superman robots are just basically there doing stuff for them, and then they're trying on different Superwoman costumes, like having fun, and then Lois sets up the Superman like robot things to do like a striptease for them, and it's like all this stuff, and then Clark.
Who wrote it?
Let me go stuff.
It was Tom King, but it's drawn by Amanda Connor. So it like.
Oh, I definitely need to read this.
Yeah, it's really cool. But the like last couple of pages are like they're not as fun. Like the whole book is really fun, but the last couple of pages is basically like Bruce and Clark are talking, and Clark's like, "This is like your worst nightmare, isn't it? Like everything is fine. Like no one needs you." And he's like, "You know what the problem is? Is that like I love being Superman, but I have to be Superman, and you hate being Batman, but you love that you have to be Batman." And then at the end, it's like basically revealed that Bruce is in some sort of nightmare machine.
Which has people here like are they like kind of up to date on BoJack Horseman?
I've only seen the
no.
first 3 seasons. Sorry.
Okay,
the first 3 episodes.
Okay, so
Very
there's
good.
there's an episode that takes place like 100 years in the future, and it's like the daughter of Princess Carol, or the great granddaughter of Princess Carolyn, who's like BoJack's agent, like giving a presentation in her class about Princess Carolyn, and and she's given this presentation about her, but then there's also intercut with stuff with like BoJack and Diane going and doing something, and then Mr. Peanut Butter is doing something, and at the halfway mark in the episode, like they cut to like back to the classroom while she's like giving this presentation. The teacher's like, she's like, I understand that you're telling a story about your great grandmother, but is the stuff about the horse and his friend and the dog, does that have to do with story at all? She's like it kind of does. It'll come back together. And so like the idea of like Bruce Wayne in like this machine, and it's like, oh, like I get like, you know, why there's like a conversation between him and Clark, but it's like, why is there all this other weird stuff with Lois and Catwoman at the Fortress of Solitude? You're like, you know what? We had fill pages.
That is totally what it is, because it's really just showing like the two of them like having fun, and Bruce and Clark are like, the soup's really good. Yeah, it's good. But yeah, I would definitely say check it out, because it's a really cool book. Like, especially as I loved the book they did with those 4 characters last time, where they went on their double date to the carnival. So it's like a kind of a fun revisit to that. So then the other book is Detective 1001. So this is the first book by the new team, Tomasi and Walker. So this is like all about the reintroduction of the introduction of the Arkham Knight. And it's kind of interesting. It's basically like he's built like a Knights of the Round Table thing. And then the rest of the book, basically, we cut to the cops, and every single bat in Gotham has just dropped that out of the sky. And Gordon is like with a patrolman, and there's just like hundreds of bats. And then he calls Batman, and all the bats in the Batcave are dead. And he has no idea what the hell is going on. And then he goes and visits Kirk Langstrom's wife, and then she turns into a man bat to figure out what's going on. And her like ears are bleeding, and she takes him to the zoo, and he changes her back, and like they're trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And then like a blast happens that looks like a nuke, and Batman's like freaking the hell out. And Alfred's like, no, there's no bomb, there's no damage. Someone put something into the lower atmosphere that's made like permanent light in Gotham, so there is no more darkness. And then he gets attacked by like this group of knights, and like the art isn't the best. Like, I'm not a super fan of it. I do think it's also because Batman in the daylight is not the best looking
they don't
thing.
mix.
Yeah, like I like the suit design, it's very classic, but the art's a little but like I kind of like the idea of like he's being attacked by this army of like dudes with swords and bow and arrows, but everything's also like high tech, so it's like piercing his armor, and like they're like kicking the shit out of him. And then he goes to throw like this bomb, and then that's when Arkham Knight steps in and like kind of rejects it back at him. And then like it ends with his boot on his head, and he's basically like, the time for darkness is over, like this is a new dawn in Gotham. So I know it's like not your like John's favorite character, and like I'm not in love with the art, but I do kind of like this idea of like, and I think the reason I brought it up together is because like I kind of like this idea of like attacking the psychosis that is Bruce Wayne as Batman. So like he cannot live without it, and there's so many other things that he could do with his abilities. So
okay,
yeah, it's been really interesting.
No, I get that. That sounds fucking buck wild.
Yeah. But yeah, so the art's okay, but you know. So let's get into our question real quick. So we're talking about like legacy characters. So basically that would be like a character that kind of took up a mantle of a previous character. So I'm not sure if anybody particularly wanted to go first. I kind of had an idea, like there are specific characters I did not pick, because I assumed other people would pick them. So did anybody have like one that specifically they would love to talk about?
Yeah. My cat's kind of intruding on me, so I'll go first, so maybe I can talk to him. Yeah, no, my favorite, it took me a while, but I kind of realized it might be a cop-out, but I'm going to take it, whatever. I like the new Miss Marvel.
Yeah, that's a perfect one.
The old Miss Marvel. Carol Danvers is cool, and I like the movie, it was a lot of fun, but I don't know, I think Kamala Khan's just way more engaging as far as a character goes, but maybe that's because I've read most of her stuff from the beginning, and I have more of an attachment to her, but I don't know, I just feel like the stories and the stuff she does on a smaller scale is pretty damn cool.
Oh, that's all. No, it works out perfectly. Like, I started reading it because of Alan, whose internet just died on him, so he'll be back in a sec. But
Awesome.
I do like Kamala. Like, she's an interest. Like, she is such like a new kind of character. Like, I like that she also doesn't have the same power set, which tends to be like a thing. Which is kind of funny because Ms. Marvel, Carol Danvers, is herself a legacy character.
Yeah, that's true.
But
yeah,
as Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I guess they can't. They gotta have a distinction now, right? Because
Well,
Captain Marvel was part of DC, right? That was Shazam.
Well, there's both of them have Captain Marvels.
Okay, I thought there was like a big legal dispute between the two of them. Over, like,
No,
Captain
they
Marvel
kind
name.
of came out because it's like, I don't know. There's a whole legal thing that's goofy, but they both have a Captain Marvel. So
Okay.
but like the Ms. Marvels, like she was also Ms. Marvel, but she became Captain Marvel because the original Captain Marvel, Marvel of Marvel, and there's like 2 or 3 other. There's like 7 Captain Marvels, if I remember correctly, because it's the original one, Genus Vale, Lila Vale, which is his daughter, Carol, the one that's in the movie. I can't remember what her name is. The black
Monica.
one. Yeah, Monica.
Novar.
Yeah, Novar. Oh, I forgot about him. Yeah, so like
Novar, he's great.
that was Marvel Boy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he had like a
Marvel Boy.
I think he called himself Captain Marvel at some point or something.
Yeah. He was Captain Marvel for like the Dark Reign Avengers.
Mhm.
And but yeah, like I don't know, I do love Kamala, so that's a great first pick.
Thank you.
Does anybody want to go next? John or Alan, or I can go.
Kate Bishop.
All right, that was one of the ones I knew that was going to get picked, so I didn't pick
Like
her.
she's the best
Fuck.
Hawkeye. She's great. Like I'm like really kind of excited for that Hawkeye series because like if they don't do Kate, then I don't know what they're doing. I think Kate. I think like I kind of said this before, but you know there's like this sentiment of Marvel comics of, like the last like 3 or 4 years where people and I get it, but it's like the idea that people were like really shitting on Marvel comics like with and rightfully so with stuff like Civil War 2, but like the idea that was also like roped into like the idea of like new legacy heroes, and Kate like being like one of those new legacy heroes, and I thought like a lot of them were like pretty successful, as like I will probably name a lot of them in the segment, but I thought Kate is like one of the best ones. Like her miniseries is great. Like every time she shows up in a book, I think it just adds like a certain amount of life to that book that's just like fun. And like I hope she's like a character that like they really do a whole lot with, like in the forthcoming years.
All right, awesome. Alan, do you want to go next, or do you want me? Okay, maybe he can't hear me. So my first, I guess his
there it
internet
goes.
is dead. So my first one, it was not a long run, but I loved it. Dick Grayson Batman.
Oh yeah, that was one I was gonna pick too.
Oh really? Oh
Yeah, that's a good one. No,
Yeah.
that's a good choice.
No,
He's-
Dick Grayson Batman's great.
He's such a departure. He's the exact opposite of Bruce, but it was such a refreshing. It's why, like, I love that him and Damian book. Like, I love that idea of like the role reversal, and he was a great Batman. I love when like there's actually like I can't remember which one it is, but there's like a panel when he's talking to Gordon, and like then Gordon's like goes and turn around, and then he turns back around, and he's still there, and he's like, "Oh, you're still here," and then Dick's like, "Oh, I guess I could leave," and then he just leaves, and Gordon's like, "Yeah, pretty." Like they have like Gordon kind of by himself. He's like, "I don't know who he thinks he's fooling. He's definitely like like puts it together." Like he's trying to do the voice. It's like there's just like a bunch of funny panels like that. But yeah, he's definitely like my number one legacy. It's not a long run. I guess it was like a year that they had it, but I still love it. Are
Yeah,
you
no,
here with
I
us?
saw him during the Black Mirror part, but yeah, I hope Alan's
Yeah,
here.
Alan, okay,
Woo!
good. You're returned.
Yeah, returned from the crappy internet.
All right. So, who is your first legacy character?
Well, first, I want to mention that a specific run from a big, well, sort of big, book that mainly featured legacy characters, that was mostly legacy characters. And that is near the end of the original DC Universe, James Robinson run of JLA, with Dick Grayson, Batman, had Jade, Supergirl, Donna Troy, Congarilla.
Man, Jade. They like just don't even. Her and her brother just like don't even exist anymore.
No.
For those who don't know, what is her
Alan Scott.
Yeah, their father is Alan Scott, but what's the brother's name?
Obsidian.
Obsidian, yeah. And they're the children of the original like Golden Age Green Lantern. And then Jade was dating Kyle Rayner for a while, and she's like sort of a Green Lantern.
Well,
Sort of?
she has Alan Scott's.
Like abilities like in her.
Yeah.
But I think they kind of made her like part of the core at some point too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then her brother's the the opposite. He's like the absence of light.
Yeah, for those of you who do not read comics, he was on Legends of Tomorrow, played by Lance Henriksen.
Oh, I love me some Lance Henriksen.
Yeah, they did some interesting stuff with that because they kept like the continuity because I feel like he was like an early character that they had out of the closet in the books.
Yeah, and since James Robinson, when he on the decision to make Alan Scott gay, since he decided that since Obsidian and Jade weren't around, that he just felt like that would be the perfect person to pick.
Yeah, when they rebooted New 52 and that was the Earth 2. So is there a specific character in there that was your favorite, or like you just mentioned in a story in general?
Oh no, I'm just mentioning that it's a book that
had a bunch of legacy characters in it.
Yeah, I remember reading that book, and that was like around the time where like James Robinson also wrote
Cry for Justice,
and I was just like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, because then he, I was just like, because I was just like reading that Justice League book, and it was just like the writing was on the wall of like DC at that point. It's like they messed up like so much with like Cry for Justice, and the only book I remember being good at DC around that point was Detective Comics and Secret Six. And when they were like, we're gonna just reboot everything because we've
fucked everything up.
Yeah, we messed up bad, you guys. And
was that when Detective was Batwoman, or did that come after the reboot?
That was before.
Okay.
Yeah, Detective was Dick Grayson.
Oh, and Batman was like him traveling back through time.
No, this was the Scott Snyder stuff.
Oh, the beginning. Okay.
Yeah. Because like the Batman book at the time was with
Tony Daniel.
It was a Tony Daniel, and he like redesigned the Riddler, and it looked awful. Like he gave him like long stringy hair and this green.
Please send this in the chat.
And this green ugly ass like trench coat that was covered in question marks, and he has
I love it.
I think it was
approved.
It's so goofy.
I think it's the design that they were going to do when they were talks about doing that for the movie, as like him as a movie character at one point.
That would have been some like mid 2000s Edge if I'd ever seen.
Yep.
This isn't the best picture of it, but this is like kind of close.
Oh my!
Oh, was this when he was a good guy?
No,
oh my God.
No, because it was like, why should we have him as being like interesting or fun or whatever? We should just make him a really by the numbers dumb bad guy again. That makes no sense.
Yeah, because there was a while when he was a good guy that was really interesting.
Why does the Riddler have this giant purple belt on this onesie?
Yeah, it looks like the design from the Batman, like the Batman Forever, the Jim Carrey version, like with that. But then they put a trench coat on him and some shitty like glasses and that.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the sunglasses because I really wanted the sunglasses.
It's night out. Why does he have sunglasses on?
Cool people keep their sunglasses on at all times.
It's like, hey, why do we have elements of all the Riddler designs in one? When it's like Riddler in a green suit is the best looking Riddler.
Yeah.
Also, can we talk about how he's ripped as fuck in this?
Riddler is ripped, and I don't know why.
This looks like something out of the
stacked.
90s and not the 2000s.
Yeah,
You could have fooled me, honestly.
When you see something like that, you're like, oh yeah, of course they can't. They did the New 52. Like, at the time, it seemed correct. It seemed like they did.
But in all seriousness, my first Lexi character is Laura Kinney.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the ones I knew was going to be on the list.
Because I was reading I was watching footage of Logan. I was reading all new Wolverine like right before we started, and man, there are still people out there who think Tom Taylor can't write because of or based off Injustice. Man, are they wrong?
I mean, like, I was, because I was just like, I was just like, look, I respect probably the craft of Injustice, but, like, the premise alone of Injustice was not for me. And then I read, like, issue 1 of All New Wolverine, and I still won't read Injustice. I imagine it's a very good book, but it's, again, still not for me.
But All New Wolverine year is fine.
But All New Wolverine is just so good.
Yeah. Especially that in the first couple pages when Laura gets shot and then she's while she's knocked out, she's like, it transitions to her and Wolverine back when she was still X-23. And man, I mean, I know Wolverine's back now,
No, she's definitely a great legacy character, and one that's kind of, because to me, like, the mark of a good legacy character or a great one is that they kind of transcend and almost like take the role over and like become their own thing. I definitely think she's that. Well, all three Marvel ones you said are totally that. Or Dick is kind of like a different thing, but all three of those Marvel ones are like perfectly that, where they become their own entity, which is kind of like a thing that Marvel is definitely better at than DC. I guess we have time for a couple other ones. Connor or John, did you have like another one?
I'm gonna say this one so it doesn't get stolen. I'm gonna say Miles Morales' Spider-Man.
Oh, that is a good one, especially right now.
Yeah, because Miles Morales is rad. Another one where it's the same character, but it kind of takes a tweak on the power set. So it keeps it interesting and fresh. So when he encounters new villains and old villains, they kind of are thrown off. I think that's such a cool concept for him.
Mm-hmm. And he has a completely different personality, which I think is also great.
Oh yeah, it's so nice to like. I love Peter Parker. Don't get me wrong, but something about Miles Morales, just there's so much life in that character. It's when he's written well, it feels so good. Yeah. And that's it.
Did you have one, John? Another one?
Yeah, like Gwen Stacy as Spider-Gwen is is like a great re-envision of a classic character that, you know, done, I think, in a way that kind of clearly redeems the character, because I think, like, after Since Past, Marvel really dragged that character through the mud, and I think Jason Latour and Robbie Rodriguez did, like, a really good job of, like, reinventing Spider-Gwen in this really cool way. And like now she's like, you know, in one of the best animated films this decade.
And she might be the star of the sequel, at least one of the sequels. No, she's definitely up there. For me, I will say I had a couple, so this is the first one I will say is I'll go to Marvel. I'll say I was actually a huge fan of Bucky Cap.
Yep.
The first of the like him. I did not stick around long enough to read the Falcon version, but I love the weight that they gave to Bucky's cap, where he like knew how much of a symbol it was. I like that he was like more violence, not the right way to say it, but he was more like realistic than Steve was, and I liked his like kind of rationale when it came to things. And also liked his relationship, especially with Natasha, like really worked well. And he was like, I don't know, I really dug that book, especially with the world that was created post Civil War. Did you have another one, Al?
Yeah, it's one that may be controversial considering the event that he's in, that he's at the center of right now. Wally West.
Oh, that was definitely one. That was one of the ones on my list. I would say he's actually what makes him different. Is like a lot of people like him better than the original.
I like Wally West more than Barry Allen.
Yeah.
By no pun intended, a country mile.
Well, he was also like the Flash for like most people growing up, especially if you consider like
Justice League and Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah, like that's they don't really say his name, like personality wise, and like that's who it ends up being. Like that's the Flash a lot of people grew up with.
I mean, the Green Lantern I grew up with was
John Stewart. Yeah.
Also, kind of why I still don't like Hal Jordan.
Nobody does. Only really old men.
And Jeff Johns for some reason.
I don't know. But yeah, Wally's like definitely up there.
Also because there was the whole him having to like he had like different points in his time as the Flash, like where he was not very responsible, got kicked out of the Justice League, and then times when he got his stuff together. And then everything fell apart when Barry came back.
Yep.
But he is, even though it's pretty much over, he was the face of Rebirth.
Yes. All right. Connor, did you have another one or?
Not really. No, nothing that like at least I related to or I had some experience in like talking about.
Okay, John.
Yeah, I'm gonna rapid fire this.
Okay, I have a bunch too.
Cool.
Jaime Reyes, Blue Beetle. He's great.
Yes, top tier.
Great. Kyle Rayner, great Green Lantern. Used the ring in more inventive ways than Hal.
He was the Green Lantern I grew up reading. He's my favorite.
Cool.
Courtney Whitmore, Stargirl is great. Like that Stars and Stripes book is probably like one of the best like things Jeff Johns has written.
Strangely has gotten two as of this moment, two different live action versions and a third that's going to be her own TV show.
Yeah, it's Stargirl's great. Like she has a cool costume, cool girl, like has like a really fun power set. Like it like kind of was like that teenage just like JSA character you kind of wanted to see grow up to be.
She's like their version of Supergirl in many ways.
Ryan Choi Adam is so good.
That was the next guy I was going to say. I love Ryan Choi. He got done dirty.
He got done so dirty, and that's also going back to the conversation. Why I also was just like, just kill this entire entire universe.
Yeah.
I'm done
Although,
with it.
I do love how they brought him back. I love the rebirth version of him.
Oh yeah. Well, so I also love how Starkiller got like, because the whole reason why Ryan Choi was killed is because Dwarf Star put out a hit on Ryan Choi, and Deathstroke's like shitty group of mercenaries like
his Teen Titans.
Yeah, killed Ryan Choi. So
you have to say, for anybody who doesn't know, they killed him and put him in a shoebox.
Yeah,
and just
not a shoebox, it was a matchbox.
Oh, matchbox.
Oh,
just left him there.
Yeah, and it was just like, it was so dumb and gross and stupid. And then like Gail Simone in Secret Six, and there was like a big kind of thing with Ryan Choi and Giganta in the Atom book that was really cute and fun. And then Giganta finds out that Dwarf Star put out a hit on Ryan Choi, and that's how he's dead. And then there's like a scene there where like Giganta like seduces Dwarf Star, and then she like kills him. And I'm like, fuck yeah, like Gail's there for us. Like, it was so good because Gail like also like wrote like a big chunk of Ryan Choi, like,
Yeah.
and so it's just like really kind of cool to see like, you know, like, oh, like the good guy won in the end, you know?
Yeah, well, that was like at the very, very end before Flashpoint.
Yeah.
I feel like it was like a month or two before Flashpoint.
Yeah, continue with DC. Jon Stewart's great. Kate Spencer, the Manhunter, is super good and kind of an underrated DC series. Like Guy Gardner. Like, there's like a bunch of Green Lanterns. They're all better than Hal.
Oh, well, that's it. All of the Green Lanterns that are not Hal Jordan. I like Simon. I like Jessica Cruz.
Exactly. Yeah, all of them. Renee Montoya.
Oh, second question. She's awesome.
Yeah. Those are my DCs. And then for Marvel, it's just like Jane Foster, Robbie Reyes, Ghost Rider, Jane Foster, Thor, Nadia Van Dyne, Wasp is so good. That's kind of all I'm thinking about right now.
Yeah, just to tag on, he started it as a legacy character and has become a thing, which is a War Machine. He started off as the second Iron Man.
Yep. Oh, speaking of Iron Man, Riri Williams is also like kind of cool.
She's awesome. Trying to think. One of the ones I thought about, which is interesting, was actually like a villain, and I actually really like the second Trickster a lot. Especially of like the Rogues. Like, he is an awesome character. I like both of them, but I think I love Axel as a character.
I mean, if you want to also, yeah,
because he's kind of like always trying to be part of the Rogues, and you're like, oh, get out of here, you scrub. But in a playful way, not like Boomerang.
Yeah, if you want to also do Captain Boomerang Jr. is not good.
No.
But if you want to like also like stay on like villains who were legacy heroes, like Otto Octavius being Spider-Man is great.
Oh yeah, the Superior Spider-Man.
Yeah, also staying on Spider-Man, Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man of 2099.
Yeah,
it's great. I guess if you want to call her a legacy hero, Vision is super good so far.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some other ones, like especially like DC ones, because it's like all the Green Lanterns. Would you consider Steel a legacy character?
If you let me count the Superboy and Cyborg Superman.
Well, Cyborg Superman's a villain though, but I guess
he was a hero at first, and then and then he lost his mind.
Yeah, I guess I would, because they're all like they're that kind of taking up the mantle.
Yeah,
once a man's dead. But yeah, like I like those characters are all awesome. I'm trying to think if there's any. Stephanie Brown taking up the Batgirl. Yeah.
I mean, like also with Cassandra Cain being Batgirl.
Both of them.
No love for Roy Harper.
Did he become? Well, he didn't really become Green Arrow.
He became in JLA.
He was Red Arrow.
Yeah. So they had Connor Hawke, but like I didn't really like. I'm not a Connor Hawke guy.
Well, once they had that little experiment with legacy, like super pushing legacy characters, like when they killed Green Arrow, Batman breaking his back.
Yeah, Connor Hawke was technically like Green Arrow.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some other ones. I just had one and then I lost it.
And technically, Barry Allen and Hal Jordan are legacy characters.
I would include that. Yeah, they are.
I mean, there's like legacy teams. You know, it's like you have like old Doom Patrol and the new Doom Patrol, and I have a lot better love for the new Doom Patrol than I do like the classic like Silver Age Doom Patrol.
Oh yeah, well I feel like most people when they think Doom Patrol, they think of like
Morrison.
the Grant Morrison run and then like the current run.
Like Shade the Changing Girl was like really great, and I thought it was just as good as the old Shade.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The only other one that like pops into my head, and it's not a great one, is like kind of the opposite of good one, is Azrael, the Jean-Paul Valley. I have an affinity to him, but there's not times where I really love him. Like I like him as his own separate character. Him as Batman, like it was a thing they were doing though.
I feel like Bad Legacy Heroes is its own list.
Yeah, I know. I was just trying to click through some like.
Hal Jordan, Bad Legacy character.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to do that next week. Some Bad Legacy characters. I'm trying to think who else could be possibly on there. It's kind of just like a Marvel DC thing as far as like because it's a capes thing, like a masks. So I'm not sure if there's any other like characters outside of the big two that are kind of really legacy can fit into that.
Savage Dragon.
Okay.
I mean, Savage Dragon's son became the new Savage Dragon.
Yeah, he did have a 4-way.
He did have 4-way.
Sorry, what?
We're talking about Savage Dragon. Don't mind it.
Okay, yeah, no, I'll just look over here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any other ones because like no one really. I'm trying to think of like
Wally
big
West.
heroes. Yeah, well, yeah, there's the other Wally West taking over because you can say that with like all the sidekicks as there's been like replacements. But like the other,
Bart Allen was a bad Flash.
no, but he was a good Kid Flash.
Yeah.
He was good. He was good Kid Flash. Terrible adult Flash.
To be fair, he wasn't written well.
Well, yeah, but you still have to like take them within context of the story that's written for
Yeah.
them.
Oh man, I'm trying to think because like a lot of like the big characters like in the two companies never because like truly.
But because I think it's like the idea is like you have like independent comics will have like a beginning or end. It's like they don't go on for like ever. They're not all about like having people take up mantles. It's like they're all like get in, get out. I don't know, like has Simmons always been Spawn? Have they had other people be Spawn?
Yes, but they were like in different time periods and stuff.
Okay.
Because they've had like medieval Spawn and stuff like that. Like there's always been a Spawn.
Oh, like the Spectre.
Yes, because I wouldn't really consider the different versions of the Spectre like legacy characters.
I thought of another DC one, Sand, who was ward of Sandman.
Oh yeah, because he's like the current Sandman, isn't he?
Well, he was
before New 52 and all that stuff.
And in New 52 they had Sandman and the Sandmen.
Wait, are we talking DC or Marvel?
DC.
DC. He means like Sandman. Like
And we're not talking about the Endless. We're talking like the guy in the mask who had sand gun.
Yeah, JSA.
Got it.
okay, because they in the guy with the other one they replaced as well. Like the Dreaming, he was switched out too. I did Google a list, and this like it's the Marvel one. So they have America Chavez, which I guess she's like a Cap.
Yeah, and there's one of the books where it was like her from the future.
Oh, and she's a Cap. Yeah, because they have her, Patriot, Nova, the kid one, Sam.
Yeah, Sam's not bad.
And they put Nick Fury Jr. Sam Wilson, but I would say like I didn't read that book, but I'm sure he's cool. I didn't read the Amadeus Cho Hulk. I liked him before that.
I did. It was really good.
We talked about Ms. Marvel, but like actual Carol Danvers was a better Captain Marvel than probably Marvel. Like I haven't read a Marvel book. I did like both of his kids though, in their different time periods. I really liked Layla Vel during the like Annihilation stuff. And Genus Vel just has like one of the coolest like character designs, I think. Like I love his look. But yeah, I don't know. Like I think that kind of does it. We're like petered out.
Yeah, sorry, I worked like 8 hours this morning.
No, it's totally fine. It's an interesting topic to talk about because I do think it's funny that specifically like two of DC's big characters, most people will like or dislike the like kind of two main ones the most out of all the people that have worn it. Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, and Barry. But people don't hate Barry. People hate Hal Jordan, and I get it. Hal's a douche.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen of the movies and the few comics that Hal Jordan's in, he's kind of a dick.
Yeah,
He's just a space cop, man.
yeah, but he's a space cop that's boring. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like the reason why the others are more interesting is because their backstories and stuff are much more interesting, while his is not.
While Guy Gardner was, even though like how Guy Gardner, for example, was supposed to be the main Green Lantern.
Oh yeah, Guy Gardner is one that I'm not the biggest Guy Gardner fan. Like I like how he's been written in the last like several years, but he's also like not. He's like my second least favorite Lantern. I don't know. I love Kyle, although he is the guy where we originate the term fridged.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Which that could be a topic at some point, like the worst fridging, and not including the original.
Yeah. That would be an interesting one because we could just dump on some stuff.
Yep. All right. So that does it for us. So let's do a quick round of plugs and get out of here.
You can follow me on Instagram. I'm at maybe Connor. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Question Connor, and I have been known to write words on a website in the times past at losthorror.wordpress.com. I got it.
Yay.
Yay.
All right, John.
You can find me at John, JOHN _FN _Seiler, SEILER. Where you can see me talk about books and comics and vinyl stuff I picked up this weekend. What other stuff we're doing for work. Yeah, and then, like, also, I don't know if we're recording it this week, but pretty soon, I will be on Legion of Tunes to talk about the early 2000s Adult Swim pilot of, oh my god, what's the name of that show? I'm blanking on it.
Oh, I have to scroll. Eltingville.
Club.
Yes.
The Eltingville Club.
Yep. And yeah, so me and Alan are part of that show as well. So that comes out usually every other Thursday. That's also part of Lars Horror. Me and Alan also do on Tuesdays, which just came out this week, which is Smallville Chronicles. We only have a couple episodes left till we finish season 3, so we're gonna have to figure out what trashy piece of garbage we're gonna watch in between seasons that's kind of related to the show. And Alan, you do one other podcast for Los Horror.
Yeah, that hasn't been recorded yet.
Yeah, but that usually comes out Sundays or Mondays. So go subscribe to that and everything. Don't forget to rate 5 stars and tell a friend. And then tell them to tell 2 friends. And so
then we'll build a multi-level marketing scheme based on your associations.
Yes.
And tattoo comics on your face.
Oh, yeah. Definitely do that. But in, like, big hot dog letters.
Oh, God. I feel like there's definitely, looking at these Riddler designs, I feel like there was a design where he had a question mark tattooed on his face.
Oh, dude, don't say that out loud. Somebody might have heard you.
I feel like that already happened.
You've given someone a idea, and that is deadly.
I have to Google this now. But that does it for us. All right. So we will catch you guys next time. Adios.
I love you.